everyone, my name's Jade. I'm a third-year PhD sociology student, and this video is about reverse racism. Simply put, reverse racism is the idea that an individual or a community can be racist against white people. As anyone well-versed in the study of race and ethnicity will tell you, reverse racism isn't real. One of the clearest explications I've seen on this subject appears in Aamer Rahman's Fear of a Brown Planet comedy tour.
I could be a reverse racist if I wanted to. All I would need would be a time machine, right? And what I'd do is I'd get in my time machine, I'd go back in time to before Europe colonized the world, right? And I'd convince the leaders of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Central and South America to invade and colonize Europe, right? Just occupy them, steal their land and resources, set up some kind of, like, I don't know, trans-Asian slave trade where we exported white people to work on giant rice plantations in China. Just ruin Europe over the course of a couple of centuries, so all their descendants would want to migrate out and live in the places where black and brown people come from. But of course, in that time, I'd make sure I set up systems that privilege black and brown people at every conceivable social, political, and economic opportunity. White people would never have any hope of real self-determination. Just for kicks, subject white people to colored people's standards of beauty, so they end up hating the color of their own skin, eyes, and hair.
What makes this video great is that Aamer is able to, in the mere span of 3 minutes, touch on 3 important facets that make it possible for someone to experience racism. The first is history or historical context. The idea that reverse racism can only exist if we went back in time and changed the entire course of human history illustrates an important fact about racism that people often forget. Well, racism is the act of discriminating against someone else of a different race based on the belief that your race is superior. Such an act is only meaningful if your belief in racial superiority is linked to historically established systems, like imperialism, colonialism, or slavery. Racism is the product of centuries of subjugation, marginalization, political violence, exploitation, and powerlessness that have set up a cultural milieu that now makes it common sense that non-white people are inferior to white people. So when someone makes fun of a non-white person on the basis of their race, they are doing so as a result of a long history of systematically dehumanizing, devaluing, and displacing indigenous and racialized communities. In contrast, there are no such historical systems that beget the dehumanization of white people on the basis of whiteness. Thus, because of our particular history, prejudicial acts targeted towards non-white people carry much more political and social clout than those directed against white people. The second thing Aamer touches on is the idea of social systems or structures. Now, because of the history of European colonization, there are currently multiple political, economic, and social systems in place in modern society that privilege white people while disenfranchising non-white people. Broadly speaking, non-white people have higher rates of poverty, homelessness, and underemployment. This is because they were either born into a cycle of poverty resulting from the historical legacies of racial slavery, settler colonialism, and European imperialism, and/or because they are given less social and economic opportunities because of the structural racism subsequently generated by these systems. Because non-white people are believed to be inferior, they face systematic barriers to success and happiness. In contrast, white people don't, at least not on the basis of their race. The last facet of racism that Aamer touches on is what scholar Iris Marion Young calls cultural imperialism. Young defines cultural imperialism as the universalization of a dominant group's experience and culture and its subsequent establishment as the norm. What cultural imperialism does is valorize the experiences and values of a particular social group at the cost of stigmatizing the experiences and values of all others. In the context of racism, Western culture and the experiences of white people are normalized, while non-Western cultures and the experiences of non-white people are stigmatized and erased. The example Aamer gives in his video clip is beauty standards. Because white beauty standards are considered to be the norm in our society, non-white people come to hate, as Aamer puts it, the color of their own skin, hair, and eyes. Again, in contrast, no such cultural systems exist that subjugate white people in the same way. Basically, cultural imperialism is the ideological product of historical and social structures that operate to enforce the idea that white people are superior to non-white people. Taken together, these 3 facets tell us one thing. Racism only functions as racism when it is rooted in historically established systems of social domination that express and beget related ideologies of cultural imperialism. Accordingly, reverse racism, which is none of these things, isn't and can't be real in our current social climate. So that's my video on reverse racism. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see similar videos, please subscribe to my channel. See you later!